What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Snowpiercer video. We finally got a flashback episode, and while these single bottle episode stories with imaginary versions of the cast are usually my least favourite episodes of really any show, this was actually a really strong installment of Snowpiercer in which we got a wealth of lore and backstory and really was a testament to Jennifer Connelly's acting. What a powerhouse couple her and Paul Bettany are, both bringing in Snowpiercer and WandaVision to new levels. The latter is ending this week, which I cover weekly, and we'll have a full breakdown of the ending on Friday about 10 PM GMT. We open with Melanie talking about how she believes the world can be saved, except the cold-hearted are the real risk of stopping them and heading outside to reclaim the world, of course, referencing the evil Mr. Wilford. This episode, as we learn the extent of his brutality and attitude in the early days of the creation and embarking on the train, which is probably the worst English I think I've ever said. She's cruising along, and we know from Ben that she didn't make contact with the Snowpiercer, and we learn why in this grueling episode for Melanie. Her snowmobile breaks and she's forced to go it on foot, dragging her rations in Snowpiercer's very own version of Death Stranding. Man, I love that game, not sure why it got so much hate. She's on low battery but manages to reach a weather station in the nick of time. Lucky, but she sees bodies of the former inhabitants outside who suffered a very grim fate, as we learn later, or at least this is Melanie's hypothesis, that the husband was shot as he got sick to conserve rations and resorted to cannibalism, and everyone then, died. Yeah, bit awkward. Now, I really like this look at the world during the deep freeze, and due to later discoveries, I expect survivors to be out there. She starts seeing people in her head like Alex, which usually are weak episodes, but I really like this discovery of what makes Melanie tick and who she really is. While this episode was in one location, this video is probably going to be a lot shorter because really not a lot happened, but I would have liked it if we saw the counterpart, if we saw trying to make contact, and we had the discoveries of the balloons going, and we see that counterpart. But yeah, it just stuck with one episode, which, to be honest, I am nitpicking there, but I want to give you my opinions. She attempts to get the server working and get the solar array online so she can work to get the balloon data going as Snowpiercer goes around the world launching these balloons, and she works on creating a climate model to just see how the Earth is warming up as CW7 dissipates. She's had to go up there on foot sans supply sled and heads out to get it back as she's there for a full month, except awkward avalanche time. There's a lot of convenient things in this episode which, while it would usually distract, I don't think it did from this episode due to the sheer power of the performances in this episode. We flash back to the Snowpiercer almost being finished, and Melanie is proud of the creation, but Wilford, being the master manipulator, decides to take credit for it and belittles Melanie's involvement, saying she's simply the glue who put it together, and he will never admit anything like that. She doesn't seem to care, of course, as she just wanted to save and preserve humanity's future on the new version of the Ark, the Snowpiercer. He calls it the Engine Eternal, which seems to be marketing hype, as she doubts those claims, and as we know, it cannot run forever, hence the need for the Big Alice supply train, and throughout the course of the episode, we learn of him cutting corners and prioritising his lifestyle and security over the survival of the general humanity population. We see imaginary Wilford roast her over Ben, and he's clearly jealous of him, or at least this is in Melanie's mind, so there is some semblance of truth there. But after some work on the radio tower, we learn that Melanie was furious at the creation of the night car, as she refers it to as a brothel. Clearly, in my opinion, he made this just for Audrey, as we learn Melanie wanted a high number of geneticists on board, and Wilford doesn't care as the night car is made when it could have been used to house 20 people. But all he cares about is security and keeping an iron grip on the train and humanity's survivors and keeping the lifestyle that he has been accustomed to. but he threatens the family of Melanie as they finally come to an accord of having a smaller number of scientists. I really loved this early day flashbacks and hope that we see some more of this as the show goes on, and it would be nice to see more of how Wilford came to hire certain people. Maybe some Lost style flashback would be really cool as we see Ruth hired, we see Roach hired, as we know that there are some stories of him going to people personally and hiring them, which I think would be really cool and expand this show. But I think the show is moving on to a different direction, and I think it is moving on to a wider, bigger show as we go on. I feel like we may move into a show which reminds me of Revolution, which was a fantastic show back in the day, where a wide electoral outage caused an apocalypse and caused people to live without technology, and I think that's where we're moving, which I'm really looking forward to, and I really love that show. We then flash back to when the train was about to set off as the arc for survivors, as we see the riots from the first episode from Wilford and the engineer's perspective, as security are struggling to contain people without tickets, and Wilford wants more of his hardcore security on board, except Melanie's scientists are there to get on board, only to be confronted by these jackbooted security guys, and Wilford makes the callous suggestion to kill them as he does head down the train to get the main gate stowaways to be killed, like we saw in the first episode in the really cool animation thing. He's desperate to get away before non-ticket passengers break aboard, but Melanie's families are still not there, and they have 30 minutes before they can board, but she decides to leave without him and her family at the demand of Ben in a tough moment. This has been a scene that's long coming, and I do hope that we see a counterpart of this, where we see how Big Alice got boarded by our boy Wilford and how he got Alex on board. We know how it happened. It should be, nice to see it. She then goes about hearing things and hears rats, which makes no sense as they should all be dead, and thinks she's imagining it, except she finds a geothermal cave where rats and plant life are going. This means there is a chance of survival combined with the Earth warming up, and I would love it if some survivors found these geothermal caves and we see the train survivors come into contact with these people, especially where the climate model says where it's safe, and it could provide a whole new dynamic on conflict as the Snowpiercer passengers find people who are alive out there, and she kills a rat, which really did turn my stomach because I'm an absolute wimp, and she's able to survive until pickup day, except after trying to get her rations and having a general awful time as the train arrives, but is going far too fast, and to be honest it looked like it was on fire. And we may see that next week, as in the trailer for next week it seems our boy Leighton is in trouble, so we should learn why the train ran so fast past her, but I feel that the end was lackluster and felt that she'd been through enough, and it would be nice if she just came across Snowpiercer, but the Snowpiercer did not know that she was alive, and there was all that kind of conflict there. So I think that we will learn truly what's going on next week, and it would be nice maybe if she stumbled across some survivors further down in the cave, but that's just wishful thinking. But we will be moving back to the train next episode with Leighton and Wilford's Cold War heating up, just like the planet. But that's it, this video. It's just a short one this week as there wasn't too much to talk about, but I will be having my WandaVision video out this Friday, and I will be covering The Flash as it returns, and I cannot freaking wait. It doesn't usually do that well on this channel, just like Walking Dead, but I love the shows and I want to bring you these breakdowns because, hey, what else is there to do? But I'll see you soon, and goodbye.